All right. Settle down, settle down, settle down. Welcome in to another episode of the Young Dad Podcast. Super excited to be with you guys today. I'm your host, Jay, and today feels like a good day to have a great day. So, with that, just a quick thank you to wherever you are, wherever you're listening to this from, whatever you're doing while you're listening. If you're a dad and you're mowing the lawn, you're sitting out there on the tractor and mowing the lawn, thank you for listening. If you're giving the kids a bath right now and you have this playing on your smart speaker, thank you. If you're in the car commuting, thank you. Literally, whatever you're doing, wherever you are, thank you for listening so much to the podcast. It means a ton just having your listenership here. Um, with that, before I jump in and introduce the man next to me here, I do want to give a quick invitation to all our listeners. If you haven't already, and if you have a free hand, the podcast won't stop playing, but if you go down to the description of the episode, wherever you're listening, and sign up for the email newsletter, a great way to stay connected with the podcast, where I might be guest appearing, where I put out hints and teasers of what's next, what's coming, and all the super fun things with the podcast. So please go and hit that subscribe to the email newsletter. It only takes a second, and it means the absolute world to me if you do that. So without further ado, I do want to introduce Peter. Peter is an oncology nurse. He's a dad. And I'm really excited to have him. We've talked to doctors before, but I don't think we've ever had a nurse on the show. Second fun fact about Peter here is that I've never had anyone put a countdown, a literal countdown to when they were going to be coming on the show. So that means a lot. It's super great. Today, Peter, you let me know that your goal really in your profession is to provide real world practical solutions to becoming healthy and dispel cancer myths. You want your viewers and anyone consuming your content to be able to say, I can do that, or let me share this with someone, which facts and good information coming from someone that's in the medical field is probably the best information you can get. First-hand information, someone who lives it every day, practices it every day, not someone on the internet saying rah, 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 trying to fire you up about these different things. So with that, Peter, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us a little bit about your profession. Tell us a little bit about you as a dad, and just tell us all the things.
I mean, you did a great intro, but yeah, I am Peter Marusca. I am a oncology nurse practitioner here in New York City. I'm a girl dad. I am a special needs dad. And we now welcomed our newborn son. So with that, we're gonna want to just promote special awareness of special needs children, special needs parents. I want to promote to all the fathers that you don't do this alone. You have a team with you, and sometimes finding that help takes a while, but it is there. So I just want to talk about that when we get into it. And yeah, with making real world practical health solutions, when my daughter was born, there was this switch that went off in my head, and I said, you now have a whole new reason to live for, a whole new reason to become healthy. And you're not becoming healthy for yourself anymore, you're becoming healthy. So when she grows up, you're not this old man trying to keep up with her. You're spry, you have more pep in your step. And then that became into this whole world of health coaching and telling the public this is what real health looks like you said, not something rah-rah, not something that's in the moment in the trend. So
I love
that's
that.
you hit everything in a nutshell.
I love that. I do my best to nutshell everything the best I can. But I love what you said there about health, because health definitely has its perceptions where you have the gym bros on TikTok or Reels saying, go to the gym, go to the gym. It's like, it's not for everyone. Or do this diet. Very much loud and in your face. And I feel like there's some dads that resonate with that works for, that cool, yeah. But then there's some dads that see that and they're absolutely intimidated by this super shredded guy, running this, really great community that costs $2,000 to enter and to get into this program. And that can be very intimidating and very overwhelming. When I perceive health as, can you do all the essential things of your day to day without getting out of breath going up 3 flights of stairs? Do you feel good just generally walking around? Like right now for me, like at the time of this recording, it's the end of March almost, and I've had a hip thing for a couple weeks that I've had to go and see the chiropractor for a couple times because I don't know what I did. I think I just went too hard on the kettlebells trying to train and work on hinge points and whatnot, that I just inflamed my hip. Even when he touched it like a couple times, he's like, "Man, this is inflamed." Um, and I'm like, "I know it hurts." Um, but I'm like, I don't feel right. I know I don't feel good right now. That's for me personally, where I equate health is, do I feel good? Is the food I'm eating making me feel good, or is it making me feel sloppy and gross? Is me eating mostly a protein heavy diet, like a carnivore centric diet, like for me, that makes me feel really good. Like I can even look at like videos I posted this week that were pre-recorded back in January, and my face looks different because I've been better about taking my greens and my supplements. I've been on a better diet. I've been on a better routine. Like my face literally looks different. And even my wife sees it, where she's like, "Man, your face looks like your face is skinnier than it was in that picture and stuff." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know it's weird, but it's all about how I feel for my health and whatnot." And then you also mentioned being a special needs dad. Bless you. You know, special needs parents, y'all are a different breed. Um, I'm blessed and fortunate enough that neither of my girls are on have any kind of neurodivergencies, except I'm pretty sure my older daughter, there may be some ADHD at play there, but nothing that classifies her right now as special needs. Um, so that's an absolute blessing to have a special needs child. My friend Brad, who has a daughter on the spectrum, his his favorite thing is to say that, yeah, she may be on the spectrum, but it's like we get to just have a big baby for way longer. Like she's just a big baby. She's so fun. Just the embrace of that. So whichever direction you want to go here, if we want to go health, if we want to go special needs, totally up to you, because I feel both are impactful. But let's start with the special needs, because I feel like that's gonna be more impactful. For you, what's been that special needs dad journey been like for you?
So I think I'll just start with how we came with to the diagnosis of the special needs for my daughter. Uh,
Perfect.
so what happened was the condition that my daughter has is rare. It's in the Facebook group that we're in, that 40 other children have the same type of condition that she has, and that number has probably grown a little bit more since then. But essentially, there's no name for what she has, like how we have Down syndrome and autism. It's just
Mm.
named after the part of her X chromosome, that segment. So it's called XQ27, and that segment of the X chromosome, it has a lot of genes for brain development, nerve, metabolic. It's just a wide array. It's a spectrum. And what ended up happening was when she was around 6 months old, we noticed that she wasn't smiling as much. We noticed she wasn't as active. She was sleeping a lot more. And there was a day when she basically had a seizure, but we didn't know it was a seizure at the time. My wife looking at her like something is not right. So her maternal intuition tipped her off into something isn't right here. We took a video, and that's always an important thing. Whenever you think your child may be having a seizure or anything of that sort, take a video of it right away so you can show the doctors this is what we saw. We get to the children's hospital that's nearby where we live. We were admitted. EEG, yes, she was having seizures. She received the treatment for it. The seizure is called infantile spasms. It's rare in and of itself also because it gets confused for acid reflux in children. And so what tipped us off was when you have those jerk movements with pretty much like a regression, that's a sign, okay, something is at play here. Her neurologist said, yes, treatment was great, no more seizures, but she wasn't hitting her milestones as she would. And that tipped him off to, let's do genetic testing to see what's going on because something else may be at play. And that's how we found out. And from that point on, luckily, because I'm a nurse practitioner, I work for a major hospital, I have access to a library, a whole repertoire of research articles. And there's not much research on this because it's so rare. And that's a downside when you have a rare condition, is not much money and not much research is put into it. But from what we gathered, because it's a wide spectrum, we're left guessing with outlook, how how life is going to be like 5, 10, 15 years down the line. But from the support group that we're in and all the various ages of the children that are in this group, we kind of are building a better and better picture. And so that's number one. So that's, if anything, if you feel that your child needs to be seen, don't ignore it and speak up for your child, because you are your child's voice, you are your child's advocate, no matter what. So that's one. And from the time of diagnosis, I remember when we left the genetic counselor, which the team was great. She explained everything very well, that this was a de novo mutation, meaning it didn't come from me, it didn't come from my wife, it just spontaneously happened, which that in and of itself is also rare. I remember we were sitting in the car, driving home, and you feel like your world imploded and exploded at the same time. You go through the entire range of emotions, from anger, grief, anxiety, depression. You're mad at the world. You're mad at yourself, and again, that's normal. You're grieving. You just got terrible news about your child. No one wishes that for their children. But as the days went on, I don't know how I did it. It just naturally happened. I said, okay, I can stay angry and I can stay this way, or I can use this to better myself as a father and as a husband, and as a person in general. And when you're a special needs parent, like you said, your friend Brad has a child on the spectrum, and they're this bundle of joy, and that's what we see with our daughter. She's always smiling. She's happy. Yeah, she throws her tantrums like a 3-year-old does, asking for her snacks, and gets cranky when she wants to take a nap. But she is still a bundle of joy, and she brings smiles to everyone's faces. So, that's a positive side to being a special needs parent, if that makes any sort of sense. Like, you just see more joy in your child and in life. You don't let it define your child. You let it say, okay, my child has this condition, but they're not limited by that condition. My daughter does therapy pretty much 5 days a week, and she just doesn't stop. She's ready to go. She wakes up, she's ready to go. She's ready to take on the day. And as a parent, I sleep in the wrong position, and it takes me 2 hours to warm myself up, get 3 cups of coffee in me. And my daughter's like, let's go. We got business to take care of. And so you learn from your child also. You relearn kindness. You relearn empathy. You relearn to smile and just to enjoy life. And that's just a beautiful thing. That's the beauty of special needs, because the child doesn't know that they have a condition. They don't understand. All they know is, I'm living life. I'm learning. So let's party together. Let's live life together. Let's enjoy these moments together. And since then, that's led me on a whole different trajectory in life. And now that we welcomed our second child, who is neurotypical, we see that you do get a little bit saddened, because as I see him hitting his milestones faster because he's seeing his sister, you get a little sad thinking, oh, these were milestones she should have hit when she was his age. But at the same time, you go, but you know what? They're on the same journey. They're on the same path. They're just on 2 different timelines. And that's what matters. They're on 2 different timelines. There's no there's no rush. As long as they're hitting milestones and they reach that goal, that's what matters.
100%. And that's beautiful. That's important. You know, the well, before I jump into that, so this joins a special class of rare diseases that we've talked about here on
Mm,
the podcast. We've talked about in the past at length, twice, maybe three times, with my friend Evan. His daughter has Sturge-Weber syndrome.
mm,
And after that, I don't think this episode is quite out yet, but I talked to Harry the Gorilla Magician. He has his son, um, his little gorilla, actually not little, his gorilla is like 17, but has this condition to where he's just like happy. I don't remember what it's called, but it's like laughing something syndrome,
mm,
to where he's just like happy and laughing all the time. This one, I looked it up. There's nothing really about it. I found something from the National Library of Medicine.
mm,
XQ27.3Q28 duplication syndrome. It's an X, to correct me if this is wrong, but this
mm,
is what I'm finding here. An X-linked recessive neurodevelopmental disorder characterized by mild mental delay, mild face dysmorphism, short stature, and primary uh, testicular failure manifests as high-pitched voice, sparse body hair, abdominal obesity, and small. This is unrelated. Small testes. So I guess that's how it characterizes in males.
and males, yeah.
Females carries may have short stature and premature ovarian failure. So, but there's not very much on this at all.
And you found the rarer one because a duplication in genetics means that segment copied itself, so it's double. And
Okay.
in the case of my daughter, she had the deletion, meaning that segment is not there; it's gone. So,
Okay.
and as you can see, for that particular segment, there's very little research done because it's so rare.
Yeah.
Um,
There's even less.
yeah.
Um, I found one journal here. So I go back and I always search when I'm looking up stuff like this.
Mm-hmm.
I try to search through like my school's database
Mm-hmm.
because I still have access to it. And so I try to go back and I search these things through like academic journals and whatnot to make sure I find something that's going to be like at least vetted that the school's going to put out through their library. So it
Yeah.
helps. But yeah, this is even less. It's even more rare in females. It's even more rare with the deletion. Um, and like you said, it's even more rare. So it's triple rare at this point that it didn't already stem from a previous genome that was present
Yeah.
between you and your wife. So it's just incredible. But the perspective that you have now, and the only words I keep hearing come to my head is that yes, she has retaught you how to be kind, how to be loving, how to be patient, how to just embrace the ups and downs. But it's like perspective, 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 perspective. And then she's going to be the best example of resiliency you'll probably ever have.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Oh
because
yeah.
it sounds like she's just so resilient. And kids who are special needs, I mean, they don't know. They won't know until, well, they're likely going to know when they enter school. Um, and they're around more of their neurotypical peers, but which is unfortunate in itself, but that's okay. So it's a whole thing there and how it all wraps together. But just the resiliency that she carries with her every day is such an example to everyone around her. And yeah, so that's hard.
And this is also when you become a special needs parent, and that the world of special needs is very different than the world of typical children. Is that you pay more closer attention to schools and programs and centers of what is the special education that you provide, how do you provide it, do you provide the therapies that my child is going to need, and depending on where you live, because this is a state by state case. I live in New York, and we're one of the best states for special education, thankfully. And we have a lot of resources and options and groups for my daughter to be a part of. But on that same token, and I personally heard this also from other people who have neurotypical children, that there is this, I don't want to say hostility, it's not hostility, but it's this judgment of, I don't want my child playing or being in the same classroom as another child who has special needs. And I'm sitting here thinking, so we're trying to teach our children to be more loving and empathetic and understanding, but you as an adult are passing on this message. And so we're having a major disconnect here, because my daughter just knows love. And when she sees someone, she says hi. She has stranger danger, so she won't give a hug unless she knows you. But she's social. She wants to meet everyone. She wants to talk to everyone, says hi to everyone. And you're teaching your child, no, don't accept that child, that person. And
Yeah.
you hear it, and it's heartbreaking, because as an adult we see the obstacles of life. We see how, as adults to adults, how we treat each other. And we don't want to pass that down to our kids. We don't want to pass down those negative thinking patterns to our kids. We want them to be better than us. We want them to be more than us. So you see that in special needs world, you see just how protective they are, because, yeah, unfortunately, there's still parents and people out there that don't accept special needs children, unfortunately. Not to bring down the mood, but it's a very unfortunate, it's a very heartbreaking reality when you're a special needs parent. Not everyone's going to accept your child, and you do your best to educate, like me coming on this podcast and bringing awareness to the rare conditions, but also you've had 3 guests with special fathers of special needs parents, and so you're doing a phenomenal job of spreading awareness of special needs and just being accepting of people and what's going on. And
Thank you.
I forgot to mention that when special needs is more of an invisible disability, there's nothing external that you see. There's no external features to say, oh, this person has something. It's invisible until you interact with them. So I think the 3 episodes you had are great. It shows to people, listen, this is a wide spectrum of conditions. It may be one person laughs inappropriately when they should be crying. That means, okay, they probably have something. So we're more accepting of that and say, oh, they're not a bad person. They have an invisible disability.
And that's really the problem, is that the lack of acceptance around special needs individuals and around special needs children. The fact that parents so blatantly will stop their kids from going and playing with someone, playing with another kid that their kid wants to play with, going and interacting with that kid that's playing by themselves at the park, going and interacting with the kid that's playing by themselves at recess because they're different, or because maybe they have a hard time socializing. Because as adults, yes, we can pick up on that because we get it. Our kids, they don't. Our kids don't get it. Our kids they don't want to get it. All they see is another kid that they want to play with.
Yeah.
And that's all that they see. Maybe they're being a little loud. Maybe they're hand slapping. Maybe they're walking. Maybe they're running a little slower. Maybe they're, walking a little different. Maybe they're talking a little slower. Maybe they're not verbal and they only can shake yes and no. Who knows what it is? Who knows what the differences are going to be? Maybe they're a little smaller. Maybe they look a little different. So what? Those things don't matter. What
Not
matters
not
is
to
that,
not to a kid. No, those things don't matter to a kid.
and they shouldn't
Except,
matter to us as adults, because that kid deserves to be included just as much as your kid deserves to be at that park, just as much as your kid deserves to be at that park. That kid deserves to have their childhood just as much as your kid deserves to have their childhood. That kid deserves to have their education just as much as your kid deserves to have their education. That kid deserves to be in a classroom with neurotypical peers just as much as your kid does. Like there's no lack of difference between the two kids. Like they're both entitled to the exact same thing because they're both kids, they're both children. Yes, will one kid need less accommodations and one kid need more accommodations to make sure they have equal access
Mhm.
to that education? Yes, that's just facts. And that's okay if they need different sets of accommodations and needs. But the fact that it's so blatantly obvious for parents to see that and then to not do anything to like stop their kid or to re-encourage their kid or to redirect their kid is very unfortunate. And one very simple thing that parents can do in these different instances is when you see it and you pick up on it, instead of having your kid avoid that other kid, encourage your kid to go and play with them. Say, hey, you see that little boy over there? See that little girl over there? Go ask him to play with you. Just go ask him to play with you. And they'll probably go, why, Dad? And you'll be, well, just because they're not playing with anyone. Go ask them to play with you. I bet they want to have fun too. And they'll be like, okay. And they'll just run off and go ask them to play and include them, kind of thing. Um, but the fact that and then when you teach your kid to avoid them, that teaches judgment, that teaches bias, that teaches discrimination unconsciously. So now when they get to school, then they become the bully. Now they're calling this kid a freak, a monster. They're pointing out their differences. They're pointing out differences in everyone because you taught them to point out differences that are different than themselves. Maybe it's skin color, maybe it's ethnicity, maybe it's looking a little bit different. Maybe it's dark eyes versus light colored eyes. Maybe it's brown hair versus blonde hair. Maybe it's boy versus girl. Maybe a little boy is a little bit more feminine than the other boy. And so now they pick up on that. They point that out too. And they make fun of that kid. Now your kid's the jerk. Now you're getting calls that your kid's a bully, kind of thing. And you're just flabbergasted because you're like, oh, my kid? Never. Well, yeah, your kid, because you taught him that without realizing it, because you weren't conscious and aware enough about yourself to realize, oh my gosh, I'm I'm teaching him this. I'm doing something wrong here. And it's just it's a cycle. It just keeps going, and it's really unfortunate because it's what's needed is acceptance and love and respect of each other. That's what we're lacking in our country, across the world. Um, are those very few things. I've written about it so many times to where if I could inject everyone with a serum of empathy, love, and tolerance and acceptance, like if I could create a serum to give everyone those four things, the world would be perfect, nearly. Um,
Yeah.
and because that's what people need. That's what our kids literally exude out of them is love, tolerance, acceptance, empathy. Um, when one kid gets hurt at the park or at school, and like the whole crowd of kids around them, and then they all walk over to that kid's parents and they're like, "Oh, little Johnny got hurt," and they're all trying to tell you the story, and they're all trying to tell you exactly what happened, and they're all so caring and they're all so worried. They're like, "He got hurt. He was crying, and we just wanted to get him over here because we didn't want him to get hurt again. So we told him to stop playing. We told him to come over here, and then he didn't, and then he got hurt again. So then we all just walked him over here, and then it's just like, holy crap, where did all this come from? Because now they're just being like so sweet and amazing to this one little boy who they might not know, but there's like a little crowd of little minions coming up to you at the park
Yeah.
with like your kid that's hurt, and they're all so caring. Like, is he gonna be okay? Is he fine? Can he come play again? Will you let us know when he can come play? Can he keep playing with us? Kind of thing. And they're all so into it, and they're all so caring because they just care about that kid that got hurt. That's all they care about. They just want to make sure he's okay. So it's more of that and less of, oh, go play over there. Stay away from that kid.
And also kids are always paying attention to you.
Mm-hmm.
It's also what you don't tell kids, how you act also. So, my daughter is looking at my wife and I, how do we interact with each other? How do we interact with everyday people? How are we talking? And we're not perfect. We're humans. None of us are perfect. But but sometimes when our emotions get the better of us, we explain to them, listen, this is what happened, and this is why it's not good to do what Papa did. This is why. You see what happened? The other person got upset. We don't want that, you know. And I'm more mindful of how I move in life now, how I move when I'm out in public with them. Things that would irritate me before don't irritate me as much anymore. I let it. It's whatever, because I'm more aware now that I have two little ones. I have four eyes on me now. So I have to be more aware of my actions, how I talk, how I walk when I'm out with them, because they'll also mimic that as well when as they grow. And as a father, I'm a father to a girl dad and to a boy. So I'm a girl dad and a boy dad. They're going to interpret my interactions differently. So if you're a guy, like you said, like the gym bros are rah 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 and super aggressive, my son's gonna think, oh, that's perfectly normal because that's what dad does. And then my daughter is gonna think, oh, that's how men are. And so I'm more mindful with that balance of when it's okay to push back and when to just listen, let it go. It is what it is. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
So
Your
and
daughter
that's also
your daughter's going to internalize versus your son's going to externalize the things that you do.
exactly.
And then vice versa with your wife. Your daughter's going to externalize those things, and your son's going to internalize those things from your wife,
Mm.
um, versus you. So your son's gonna literally do as you do. He's literally gonna mimic your actions, your mannerisms, the things that you walk, talk, say, how you do your hair, how you brush your hair. If you get a haircut, he's gonna want a haircut. If he sees you shaving, he's gonna want to shave. If he sees you changing your shirt, he's gonna want to change his shirt. If he sees you change your underwear, he's gonna change his underwear. All those things, right? But your daughter is gonna see those, maybe not see you like change or whatever, but it's like, okay, well, dad's clean all the time, so men are supposed to be clean. But if you're dirty and you're grungy, then it's like, okay, boys are dirty and grungy. Okay. Um, and if you're loud and you're kind of out there and but you're fun and you're nice to people, she's gonna internalize that and be like, oh well, boys are just they're just kind of loud, but man, they're funny, they're kind, they're nice. Like that's good. Like yes, someone can be loud, but are they nice? Are they kind? Like she's gonna internalize those things versus your son is gonna be like, well, dad's loud, dad's funny, dad cracks jokes out in public. I'm gonna do that same thing because it's dad does it, I do it. Versus when he sees your wife do something for your son, he's gonna be like, oh man, mom's really mad, or oh, dad said that joke and mom got mad, so I'm definitely not going to do that like dad did because I don't want that reaction from mom. But I also want to be like dad. So he's going to be kind of towing that line. It's not a bad line, but it's a good line. But then for your daughter's going to see like your wife, like, oh, straighten your hair. I want to straighten my hair. Makeup. I want to do makeup. Nails. I want to do nails. We're going shopping just to go shopping. Cool. I want to go shopping just to go shopping. Like she's going to externalize all those behaviors and habits and routines and mannerisms for her, but she's everything that you do, say, act, look, twitch, smile or don't smile. She's going to internalize all those things.
It's a lot. No, it's a lot. And if you try to be conscious of all of that, you're gonna be your brain's gonna blow in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But but when she was born and the diagnosis and everything, it, it was a step by step process for me. It was a I tried to do everything at once, didn't work out, and I felt like a failure because I have to do A B C D E F G and I'm not hitting them. And then my wife goes, well, don't hit all 26 letters of your goals, focus on a couple and get down that pact first. So move with smaller goals and make those smaller goals aims to the bigger goals. So as a father. So I want to be a better father, right? Okay, what does that mean? So it means, and this is for me personally, it could be, it'll mean different for you, it'll mean different to the person listening to this podcast. But for me, it meant slowing down, not picking on 27 different projects to do for my career, for home, for life, not overworking myself basically. Being more present in the moment, so not saying don't think about the future, but don't let that future thinking consume you. And being more in touch with internally with myself. So being aware of what are my flaws, what are my downsides. It's A, B, and C. Okay, we got to work on A, B, and C. We got to work on the perfectionism and tone that down a notch. We got to work on the overthinking, bring that down a notch. We got to bring that anxiety down a little bit more because you're getting anxious when you overthink and you're aiming for perfection. Let's bring it down to more real world, what you're capable of doing, and then expanding on that. I lost my train of thought with that one. I apologize.
No, you're good. I think you're absolutely right to where you you can't. I think it comes back down to being intentional. Yes, if you try to put all that together in your brain and you try to be conscious and aware of that 100% of the time, your brain's going to explode. I'm only conscious and aware of that because I work in mental health and I get paid to have my brain explode every day with these concepts and ideas. That's literally what I get paid to do. Uh, and so I do it for fun. I enjoy pushing my brain to the point where it's going to explode about these different emotional and cognitive things. It's what I enjoy. I don't recommend it for everyone. Um, but it's about being intentional, and it really comes down to taking baby steps. Something I talk about in the Well Balanced Dad Diet. You can always go back and listen to those. Self plug here. Go back and listen to those Well Balanced Dad Diet bonus episodes that are on the podcast. They're super fun. I think it's an 11-part series. I actually don't think I ever finished recording it and posting it. I got busy. It was about a year ago that those came out, so you're gonna have to go way back in the catalog, or you can go back to episode like 80 something to where I presented a speaking. It was a speaking gig I had. It was a workshop, and I presented the well balanced dad diet, kind of in like a nutshell. Condensed it all into about a 45-minute interactive workshop kind of thing that you could follow along with. So that's really fun. But it's something I talk about there is to where you have to take those small steps. If you're, because then you're gonna have task paralysis set in, to where you know you have a bunch of tasks, and this happens very often. It can be very overwhelming, to where the task paralysis sets in, and you're like, I got all this stuff to do. I was literally just talking about this last night, actually, with a youth and family and a client of mine, to where I'm like, okay, well, what happens that I've noticed, and I called him out, I'm like, what I've noticed with you is that sometimes you'll make a list and you'll put all these things up that you have to do. And put all these things on your plate that like you have to get done. You have to get done A through Z by this date kind of thing. And then you end up getting A through C finished and you're really mad and frustrated and disappointed with yourself and you feel like you failed and you're really struggling now and you're behind even more, like you're behind the eight ball versus let's reframe this a little bit and let's when you get A through C done, message me, let me know, let's review it. When you get D through F done, message me, let's sit down, let's review it. Let's break it up into those bite-sized chunks. Can you eat a whole chicken breast in one bite, Peter?
No.
No, you
I
have
mean, I could try, but no.
it's
Absolutely.
not gonna feel good. But no, you have to pick that chicken breast apart and you have to eat it in pieces and you have to break it down. Chicken wings, yeah, I can one bite a good chicken wing,
Mm-hmm.
for sure, no doubt. A flat, just grab it by the end and suck it off, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes you have to take pieces apart and you have to break it down into smaller pieces. Just kind of like our bodies can't have to break it down, different things down into pieces. Where you have to break your health down into pieces, movement, diet, sleep, hydration, supplementation, all these things. Like you have to break it down into these subcategories, and then maybe you have to break it down even further. And you have to explore it even further. Okay, with my health, where do I struggle? I had to do that myself, and I had to break it down. Okay, well, I really struggle with supplementation. I don't eat a lot of vegetables, so how can I break that down? Oh, I need to go find a good greens powder that I like. And I'm sure that you and everyone else that follows and listens to the podcast has seen my daily greens videos that I post with bucked up organic greens.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely love those things, and they're fantastic. I've had the Bucked Up CEO on. We've talked in length about him. Really cool dude. But overall, I get distracted here. You have to make it small and manageable for yourself. You have to make sure that your goals are obtainable, and you have to make sure they're smart, um, measurable,
Relatable
actionable.
and on time. That was drilled into nursing school
Yeah,
way back.
actionable, relatable
Mm-hmm.
time. Um, so you have to make sure you smart goal your stuff, even for yourself as an individual. I saw a post last week on Threads, and I strongly disagreed with. It said if you have to write down your goals, you already lost. I'm like, excuse me, no, you're wrong. Um, Go to med school, go and get a master's degree in psychology, and then tell me about how you don't write down your goals after you do those things, kind of thing. Um, go and do these hard things. Like med school for you and getting my master's degree was super challenging for me to be able to do what I do now. But go and do those things and take it from a psychology aspect, and you're going to be writing down a lot of things. You're going to be writing down a lot of goals because you're then going to understand the neural links that are going to be created between your fingers writing it out, you physically seeing it and writing it out, and the links that you're going to be creating in your brain to that goal to then be able to put it out into the world because now you have neural links in your brain to think about and you're going to be more conscious and aware of it. And essentially, you're going to be more intentional with that thing. So it all comes back to intentionality in the end to get on these different paths. So,
Yeah. It's always about being intentional as, as a father.
mm-hmm,
And especially when you have a special needs child, you can't do 27 million different things because you have to focus on what's important. So what's important for today? Okay, my daughter has to do PT, OT, then this therapy from this time block. And so during that time, you can consider when she's in the having her therapy sessions, that's like your time. Think, okay, I'm here. What can I do for myself? It can mean listening to an audiobook so you can relax a little bit. It could mean, like you said, journaling. I mean, there's journal apps. You can buy a small notebook and just write down if that's what you want to do. And so finding those little pockets to be intentional with yourself. Uh, and from the beginning, like we said, we did like an introduction on health, right? So I just want to tie that in with being a father and health as well. Just like I want to bring you and your audience as much value in this session as possible. If you look up the definition of health from the World Health Organization, it just means a person that's free of disease, conditions, mental, physical, spiritual, anything like that. From my personal experiences, I've boiled down to health to three things: physical, mental, and spiritual. And they're they're independent of each other, but they're also interconnected at the same time. And as fathers, we focus too much on the physical. We want to be shredded, we want to get big, we want to have the big rippling muscles, but in reality, that's not a reality for a lot of men.
mm-hmm,
I'm not the biggest guy in the room. I don't have muscles like Chris Bumstead, but I remember growing up from my own father. He goes, "It's not about looking strong, like having muscles. It's about being actually strong." So if you're able, if you're doing 3 reps of 315 on a bench press, but you're doing 20 reps at 145 on a bench press, that's the balance of who you want to be actually strong when it matters. So I took that as, okay, I don't have to be like the biggest, most jacked dude in the room. I just have to know in myself, if push comes to shove, can I football carry my kids, sling my wife on my shoulders, and sprint 3 blocks to escape danger if it ever
To
comes down
escape
to it?
Godzilla because it's New York, of course. So
It everything goes down in New York. That's all I can say. Everything goes down
yeah,
in New York.
Avengers, all the things.
Avengers, every apocalypse movie is in New York.
I'm pretty sure the new
Everything,
Apes movie is set in New York. That's coming out later
oh,
this year.
I forgot about the Apes movie, the Statue of Liberty in the water. I forgot about that.
So excited. Anyways,
Oh, but we focus a lot on the physical, and that's important too.
100%.
You want to be in shape because again, your kids emulate that. But also, if the physical is not taken care of, then the mental health is takes a hit as well. You start going the cycles of I can't walk 3 flights of stairs without getting winded. I don't like how my body looks. And so you start getting these negative cycles coming in. And then of course then that cycles on and on. So then you start having negative self thoughts, negative self talk, and I'm sure you're aware, as you said, with your psych background, it can progress and it can spiral out of control very quickly,
Very
especially for
quickly.
men because we're not as likely to talk about our emotions or our feelings, and especially when you're a special needs parent. There came a point where I talked to my wife. It was one night my daughter was sleeping and we just talked. I'm like, listen, this is what I'm anxious about. This is what I'm scared about. And so my wife says, yeah, I'm scared about the same things you are. So we connected better because I talked about where I was at mentally, um, and that helps. And as men and as fathers, we need to reach out when it's important. There's 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 no such thing as, well, your wife doesn't care. It's like, no, your wife does care. Your spouse does care. Your partner does care. But you have to tell them this. You have to sit down with them and say, hey, listen, can I talk to you about something that's bothering me?
Hmm.
And you just have a discussion. You're not placing blame. You're just laying it all out there. And they hear and they say, oh, okay, I'm having the same, like I said, the same anxieties you're having. Let's work it out together. And then the third is spiritual. And spiritual is a little different than mental because this is how you see yourself in the world and metaphysically as well. This is your purpose. This is where you see yourself in 5, 10, 15, 25 years. This is what you want to emulate. And for me personally, you know, we're a Christian family, and so we draw a lot of the values from going to church. But this can mean going to synagogue, going to temple, going to whatever place of worship it is for you. But when you, as men, we need to have a clear sense of purpose and what kind of person, what kind of man we want to be. And so we look towards role models. And unfortunately, we've, especially on social media, and I would love to hear your take on this also. When I was going through this, I listened to a lot of major male social media influencers, and it came to a point where I'm like, they sound more angry than anything else, and more aggressive than anything else. It didn't sound right. It didn't sit right with me, especially when you try to apply what they say in real life and you start saying, oh, this doesn't work. You start to realize, oh, they're not down to earth. They're not in touch with any reality because the reality is your partner is with you because you have genuine good-hearted characteristics. But you as a man need to understand what those genuine good-hearted characteristics are, lean into them and build on them. But at the same time know what your bad habits are and work on them. And so spiritually, you grow as a person, you grow as a family, but you as a father need to work on that and continuously work on that. And then that bleeds into everything else.
Exactly. There's a reason why I'm also Christian, and so I have a very similar beliefs here to you. Mind, body, spirit, the trinity of the mind, body, spirit is so important. Um, because the spirit, your mind, you have no central belief system. You have no direction that you're going in life. You have nowhere that you're going. And I highly encourage everyone to find their spiritual path, their religious path, if they so choose, if it's a secular path, if it's spiritual, whatever. Find it, choose it, live it, love it. Find that sense of purpose and belonging for yourself in your life because it's so important to do so. You need that as an individual. You need that as a person. Uh, you need that as a father because if you don't have a sense of values and beliefs, your kids aren't going to have a sense of values and belief. If it's only coming from their mother versus coming from you, then there's going to be a problem, especially if you're both are in the home. So that's very important to stay mindful of and to stay aware of. Next is, the mind. You got to keep your mind right. And the biggest thing you can do to keep your mind right is keep your body right. Keep your body healthy. Feed your body the right things. Don't feed your body a bunch of crap. Not a bunch of sugar, a bunch of fast food, a bunch of caffeine or energy drinks that are full of BS or anything like that. If you need caffeine, find a nootropic that works for you. You're going to spend the same amount of money on one bottle of nootropics that you're going to spend on, that many energy drinks to get you through 25 to 30 days. You're probably going to spend more on those because they don't last as long. Nootropics, highly recommend nootropics. Just for myself, at least. That's like a personal recommendation. I love nootropics. Supplementation is so important. Finding the right mix of supplements for yourself that work for you. Sorry, my dog has something. I don't know what he has. Okay, it's fine. Finding the right set of like supplements and whatnot to keep your body right, because then that'll ultimately help keep your mind right, because your mind has the right food, the right energy it's pulling from to keep going. But then as soon as your mind starts to get out of whack, you start to spiral, start to do all those things, it goes downhill very quickly, kind of like you mentioned, because it spirals. Men especially, we don't talk, we don't open up, we don't communicate, we don't ask for help. Something I'll kind of loop back to here, but there's a reason that the suicide rate in the United States is 4 men to every 1 woman, why men's are more lethal and things like that. So just a little thing to know there. But my take on the whole social media aspect of it is that masculinity has been demasculized by social media. It's been demasculized in our country by women, by not all women, by the wrong women. It's been demasculized to be a man. It's not cool to be a man. It's not okay to be manly. It's not okay to be masculine anymore because it comes off as aggressive and rude and mean and scary and perceived, and it's not with the culture. It's not woke to be a man. Um, and so it's not cool kind of thing. And it does very easily by a lot of major male influencers come off as very angry. It comes off the wrong way. It comes off as disgenuine. It's more for the clicks. It's more for the appeal. It's more for the clickbait. It's more to get that engagement on social media to make more money. Because essentially, the louder you are, the more aggressive you are, the more in your face you are, you're going to piss off the feminists. You're going to piss them off. You're going to make them engage. You're going to call out all the gym bros that are going to be in your comments, engaging and fighting the battle for you, while you just sit back and you just enjoy the money coming in, kind of thing. So that's the problem with social media and major men influencers and whatnot trying to spread masculinities. They don't understand what masculinity is. They don't have a sense of self. They don't have a sense of belonging. They don't have a sense of values and whatnot. One person, and I know he's controversial, but there's a reason that he's the top 1% in the world and gets paid millions of dollars by Spotify, is Joe Rogan, because he blends it. He blends it all very well. He blends curiosity with knowledge and sharing perspective and news and people and perspective. And he's curious. He's genuinely curious. He asks the questions. He educates himself. He does his research. He's not loud and in your face. Yes, when he gets fired up about something, he gets fired up because
Yeah.
he's a fighter. He's an MMA guy. That's his background. That's where he comes from. It's gonna feel loud. It's gonna feel aggressive. But no, he's just passionate. He just gets fired up, but he also talks, but his demeanor clearly changes when he talks about his wife, when he talks about his children. Very gentle, very loving. Like, yeah, man, I just look at my family like they're babies. I just look at my kids like they're babies, and I'm teaching just this little baby And it's just so cool to see them grow up. Like, you could hear it in his voice, just like, and you can see the twinkling in his eye when he talks about his family, when he talks about his kids, when he talks about his wife, when he talks about his dog, kind of thing. And it's like, man, there's the man, there's the human. That's the guy right there. Then he talks about fighting. You're like, oh yeah, Joe Rogan, the analytics. Oh my god, he's so good. Like
Oh yeah.
UFC,
Yeah.
all this stuff, and oh man, he had that one expert on. He had Dr. Phil on, and they hit all these topics. And Dr. Phil got fired up here, and he had the Mexican OT on, and uh, man, they talked about all this, and then he had this dude on, and then he had this comedian on, and man, that comedian's like, man, that was really cool how that comedian talked about that. Or he had this like politics guy on. It's like he was just so curious, and he learned stuff. I learned stuff. Like now I have someone new I'm listening to in my catalog. Like it's just so cool how he does it, and because like
That's real masculinity right there.
exactly, exactly.
You're not aggressive for no reason. You're not attacking anyone
No, he
verbally or
doesn't.
physically.
He doesn't
He's just
attack.
having a conversation.
He
Even if
could.
he has people he disagrees with, he still has that conversation
He
with them.
asks like in the
Challenges.
spot. He challenges them.
Hmm.
He's like, okay, educate me. Tell me
Yeah.
why. Let me know. Don't just say something if you're not going to back it up. And he calls people out in the moment, which is what real masculinity looks like. We're not afraid to have those conversations. Like I will literally bring anyone on, even if they have different. I've had Reiki masters on. I'm Christian. I had a Reiki master on. Those two things don't normally line up. This is a
Not
dad's
really.
podcast. How many women have I had on the podcast? A lot, kind of thing. Like I've had couples with no kids. Like I'll talk to anyone because I'm genuinely curious. I genuinely want to know people. I want to learn different backgrounds. I want to learn something from these people. And I can say genuinely, I learn something from every single podcast that I do. And I hope that the listeners get the same effect from it, is that they learn something every single episode that I put out there. Um, but the last thing I really wanted to hit on here is one thing that I know is very big to you is cancer.
Hmm.
Um, and one thing that you had mentioned in your questionnaire that I read is that if a man or someone in general feels something off to go get seen, feels something off, say something. So, you work in oncology, you're an oncology nurse
Hmm.
practitioner,
Hmm.
um, cancer. So you have a different perspective on cancer, so please share that. Coffee first.
So, well, that was water. That wasn't coffee.
Oh, that was water. Water first.
I gotta balance it. I gotta shift in between the two.
I love that balance, man. That's what we're about.
But I've had my own personal cancer scare when I was in my 20s. I had a suspicious looking mole. Let me backtrack. I was at my dermatologist because I had really bad acne, and she did the assessment. She's like, "Oh, you have this mole on like the back of your arm here," and I was like, "Yeah, I've had it for a while. It just looks weird also." And I knew about oncology, like the ABCs, like asymmetry, the weird color, jagged borders, elevation. And she was like, "If you want, we can biopsy." I was like, "You know what? Yeah, let's do it." And a couple of days later, she calls me back. She's like, "We have to come back. We have to take a deeper sample." It wasn't melanoma, but it was in situ, and it says it penetrated your basement membrane. So in layman's terms, in situ means it's in place, but when it's past the basement membrane, which is like the lower levels of your skin, it's seeded past it. And it was abnormal enough cells. It was like, it's not melanoma, but we don't know what it is. So they took a deeper sample. Turns out it was okay. And that was my own personal cancer scare. So when I say for men, if you feel something is off, go speak to your doctor about it. And 60% of men will not go to their doctors. They won't do an annual physical. They won't even go to a doctor for anything at all. 60% of men, which is the vast majority. And when you look at cancer statistics for colorectal cancer, vast majority are men. For prostate cancer, vast majority are unfortunately are African American men.
And that's
Lung
something.
cancer,
Those are all
hmm?
something up there, like well above 60% of all those cancers are well above 60% demographics in men, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
because it's this negative stereotype of like I'm a guy, I don't need to go to the doctor,
Hmm.
it'll just go away. It's like no.
Yeah.
if you wake up on the wrong side of the bed and you pull the muscle, yeah. But if it's something that's going on for longer, if it's a nagging pain that doesn't go away, then you need to seek help. And
100%.
with cancer in specifically, there's the abbreviation caution, CAUTION, and it's a breakdown. And you can Google this also, and it's a breakdown of what are the warning signs of cancer and when to go seek help. So if you have these ongoing fevers on and off, right? If you have this persistent cough that just doesn't go away, especially if it's bloody. If you're having blood when you go to the bathroom, basically anytime there's blood coming outside of your body, you need to go seek help.
Right.
Speak to your doctor. Blood needs to stay inside your body, not come out. If you're losing weight without trying and you're losing it quickly, again, that's something that needs to be brought up to your doctor. And doing an annual physical helps catch cancer early. And also doing appropriate cancer screenings, getting your colonoscopy, doing a mammogram if you're a woman, getting a prostate exam for men if you're having issues urinating. And as men, we don't do any of that. We think it'll go away, it's fine, I don't need to. And we're seeing unnecessary cancer deaths because, and for men only, men specifically, we don't go for screenings, we don't go for checkups, and we need to start changing that tune. As a father, and as a father of two, and as a husband, I have three people to that look up to me,
Mm-hmm.
and I need to keep myself healthy. So that means going to an annual checkup, or understanding when something is not right in my body. Like if I'm having a nagging pain, it's just not going away. I'm me make an appointment with my doctor, see what's up. Um, and in cancer, we have this myth. I mean, there's a whole bunch of myths.
There's
So
so many myths.
there's so many myths, but in cancer, when these patients come in, they, for certain ones like myeloma, we'll take that one specifically. They go, yeah, I had a back pain for months. I didn't do anything about it because it went away with Advil, and then all of a sudden, I got a fracture as I was playing golf, and then boom, I find out I have multiple myeloma. So cancer is insidious in that sometimes it doesn't always have warning signs. It could just be
Mm-hmm.
like that lower back pain. You think, old age. You don't immediately think cancer. WebMD will think cancer, of course,
Hey,
but
don't
you don't think.
Peter, don't be telling me that the thing going on with my hip could be cancer now, okay?
No, no,
Don't
no,
be
no.
fear mom. I'm just
But
playing.
no, but if that pain just is not going away,
Yeah.
and there's other symptoms, there's other things going on, like you're having fevers, you're having infections, like constantly, like year
Okay,
round,
we're good then.
then you should start saying, there's something else going on.
Yeah.
And that's an issue with cancer, that there's not always clear signs. Um, another myth of cancer is that, that, and I don't know why this has started coming up again, is that if you're having all these negative thinkings, that's the reason why you have cancer. And it's just like, well, it goes deeper than that.
Yeah. I don't
Um,
think you can just think and have cancer.
yeah,
Um,
the same way you can't just think and the cancer goes away.
yeah, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
No, I see that, and the caution acronym. I pulled it up just for people
Mm-hmm.
to know that, to have some context behind it. C is for change in bowel or bladder habits. A for a
Mm-hmm.
sore that does not heal. U for unusual bleeding or discharge. T for thickening or lump in the breast or elsewhere. I for indigestion. O for obvious change to warts or moles, and N for nagging cough. So, a bunch of things, a bunch of symptoms, but I think what you said is most important there. You take your kids to the doctor in their first 2 years, you take them every 6 months, and then every
Mm-hmm.
year then after. Um, but you, in that 2 year span, you went to the doctor maybe once for
Or
something,
none at all.
or none at all, 0 to 1. But you just took your kid to the doctor 4 times. Whenever your
Mhm.
kid's sick or your kid has something wrong that's like bothering you that you can't treat, like now that I have two kids and I know kind of what their like ebbs and flows are, I
Mhm.
don't worry about it too much because I know they're older. So I'm like, okay, well, pop you some Tylenol, give you a nice cool bath, maybe some ibuprofen or kind of whatever's going on, maybe a, you know, tummy ache, Pepto Bismol or something pretty like light and low key. They'll be good in a couple
Mhm.
days. Like, there's not a need for me to take you in because guess what? I know that doctor. I know our pediatrician is just going to give us the same thing anyway.
Yeah.
So I know how to treat this. It's fine. Um, but if it was something more serious, like if one of my daughters had 102 fever for 3 days on end and couldn't break it, something like that, okay, then I'm probably going to go ask for an antibiotic or something. Or if
Mhm.
they're crying about intense ear pain or something like that, or there's like gut getting stuck in the ear, or the obvious changes, then I'm going to be like, okay, let's go to the doctor. But what about with myself? Like I noticed like my hip was really off. I'm like, okay, some of this is just soreness, but I knew something was really wrong when I'm like driving because it's my right leg. So it's obviously your driving leg. And when I'm moving it, I'm like, that feels like grinding right in that joint right there. Like that's not normal. So
Mhm.
I'm like, you know what? Probably time for me to go get this checked out. And sure enough, I get checked out, I get cracked, get massaged a little bit, am in and out in 15, 20 minutes. He said if it's still hurting you in a week, come back. It was over a week. It still hurt, came back, did a little bit more treatment. Now it's starting to feel up and up. Ice, you know, normal things. But like I knew something was off. I knew where to go to get it treated. And it just pretty much took me calling and saying, hey, can I get an appointment? Yeah, tomorrow, 11:30. Cool. Click, show up, bada bing, bada boom, done, out and back at work in 20 minutes kind of thing. So it can be that easy.
Mhm.
It can be
And
that
it really is that easy just
it
to
is.
just pick up the phone, make an appointment. But like the key thing you said was it didn't feel right.
Mm-mm.
Like you were driving, like it's grinding. Like I don't, my joint's not supposed to grind on itself.
Mm-mm.
And how many men out there say it doesn't feel right? I'll just sleep it off. It's like no, there's a reason why we have medical doctors and physician assistants and nurse practitioners and chiropractors and physical therapists and so on and so on and so on because we are here to help you. We're not here to just get as much money out of you. There are a whole world of us where yeah we want to see you get better. And whenever I discharge a patient, I always joke and say, don't come back ever again. Like, I want you out of the hospital. I want you to stay out of the hospital for as long as possible unless you need to be in the hospital.
Absolutely.
You know, and and that's why I started my whole Instagram page, my TikTok, np.marusca, because like you said, there's a lot of there's more trendy health advice, and I use the word advice in quotations, than actual advice. Um, and I try to dispel as much of that, and I try to give actual practical advice. So, what would that mean? We always say take, as an example, we always say take 10,000 steps a day, right, for good health. And that's been the benchmark for years, 10,000 steps. We had research come out that says if you get even at least 4,000 steps, you still get close to the same benefits as the 10,000. That's practical advice. If you can't go from being a couch potato to being a gym bro in one
Mm-mm.
session,
No.
but you can go from a couch potato to walking almost 4,000 steps a day. That's the real practical advice.
Mm-hmm.
Go from that to 4,000.
Yeah.
And then from 4,000 to 10,000. And from 10,000, you start working your way to being a gym bro. And that's what I'm aspiring to do.
I love
And
that.
again, this all stemmed just from my daughter's diagnosis and becoming a special needs parent. I'm getting myself better. Okay, well, let me share this to the general public. I'm a nurse practitioner. I coach patients on what to do when they go home. You know, make sure you eat well. Make sure you eat your proteins and your good unrefined carbs, and get your veggies in, get good fruits in, and make sure you sleep, and make sure you take your blood pressure, and all sorts of things. And so I started to myself, why don't I just do that for the general public as well? So everything, it's always interesting how your kids guide, without realizing, they guide you into doing all of these things, into creating almost like a side hustle without you even realizing, you know?
Definitely.
So,
Definitely. I love that,
yeah.
man. I love that. Well, this has been super informative, super fun. It's super important to, take all the things and that perspective that you have that really changed everything. Just having a special needs daughter, so important because, I mean, if not you to share that information, then who else? Someone that doesn't have the training, someone that doesn't have the education, someone that doesn't have the
Mhm.
background, the practical life experience to apply to it. Same for myself. Like, well, I have a microphone and a computer and I'm loud and vain enough to talk in front of a camera. So why not me? I'll share the stories, I'll
Yeah.
share information, I'll be a voice for change. Like, why not
Mm.
me? I've done crazier stuff. Um, and at least this helps people. This is a way to give back and to help people. It's something I feel like I need to be doing more and more, that I'm supposed to be doing. I just looked up my stats. I found like this stat on it's called listener notes or something like that. I looked it up.
Mhm.
I didn't even know. I'm a top 1% podcast in the world, which is absolutely crazy. So thank you to all the listeners out there.
There
It's
you go.
absolutely incredible. I'm like top 0.5% in the world of global podcasts. So that's just incredible, to hear, to see the encouragement that I need. It lets me know, like, okay, this is happening for a reason. I'm doing this for a reason. I was meant to do this. I was supposed to be doing this. Um, Even through the hardships, the up and downs. But it's important to share the information that you can share. If you have something to say and you can say it and you want to say it and you're able to say it and you are able to be a voice, to share your story, to share your blueprint with someone else, do it. Do it. Absolutely do it. Social media is great. It gives little old you a big old audience. It gives you the biggest audience in the world. Podcasting gives you the biggest audience in the world. Like, I know I have a bigger audience than CNN, NBC News, than the local news outlet. Like, I know I have a bigger audience than these quote unquote news outlets. Like, I know I have the reach and the voice to reach fathers all over the world, and it's so impactful. And same for you. You have the reach and the impact and the opportunity to reach fathers and people all over the world. And hopefully, I hope and pray that this episode reaches someone that has been feeling a little off, that has been feeling some weird, maybe had some blood come out in their stool. Um, Maybe he's been feeling a little sore in one area, maybe has a weird mole, and it pushes them. And I hope and pray it encourages them to go and do the thing, go and call them, make that doctor's appointment, go and get checked out, go and get screened, go and get checked, because not only does your health depend on it, but your children depend on that as well. They depend on you and they need you the healthiest and the best you can be for them. So I encourage, if you're listening and you're hearing these things and you stayed with us to the very end here, if you are feeling cautious or caution at all in any way, shape, or form, call your doctor and go get checked out. If you don't have a doctor, call one up and establish it. Call your insurance, have them tell you what doctors are in network, call one of those doctors and go get screened. Go to your primary care, have physical, get checked, do blood work, whatever you need to do. Um, just go and do it, please, because your family needs it. I need you to do it. Peter needs you to do it. We need you to do it. And most importantly, your wife, your kids, your family, those who love and care about you the absolute most in this world, want you to do that. They might not be able to say it, they might not know to say it because they don't know, but they want you to do it. They want you around for as long as you can be. And you absolutely deserve to be around as long as you can be. You absolutely deserve a long, happy, blissful life. You absolutely deserve to be alive to see your grandchildren. You absolutely deserve to be alive and play with those grandchildren, to climb with them, run around with them, laugh with them, joke with them, throw them up in the air and do all the things with them, and not be the old man sitting on the couch, not be the old man sitting in his recliner that can barely get up. You deserve to be the fun grandpa that gets mistaken. Are you these kids' dad? You absolutely deserve to be mistaken for their dad when you're out with them. You
Oh yeah, that
absolutely,
should be the goal, 100%.
yeah. Your goal should be to be the grandpa that gets mistaken for the kid's dad because you have so much energy and you're so energetic. The key is starting now. If you're feeling caution, go and get checked. If you need to clean up your diet, start cleaning up your diet. If you aren't exercising and moving as much, then guess what? Start with 1,000 steps. Start with a 5-minute walk. Start with a 10-minute walk, whatever you can fit in. You have the time. I promise you have the time. Pull up your screen time report. Bada bing, bada boom. There you go. There's your time. Um, make it a non-negotiable for yourself. Make it something you have to do. Build it into your schedule. Plan it. Write it out. Do whatever you need to do. Put it in there because it's so important that you do that. And that's kind of my closing thoughts. Before I give you your closing thoughts, Peter, and give you an opportunity for the people to continue to follow you and whatnot, I do just want to shout out today's sponsor of the podcast, the June app. That's Joon. I talk about June all the time on the podcast. They're absolutely one of my favorite apps. I use it. I recommend it to clients. If your child is struggling with habits, routines, behaviors, morning routines, the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows, putting things away, keeping their room clean, all the different things that you want them to do on a daily basis, to help them become self-sufficient, good, responsible human beings, which should be our goal in general, the June app is something you might want to look at. It's absolutely free to start. You can add in tasks. The kids can play a video game. They take care of pets. They get to play games. Everything that kids love about a game, they can do in the app. And then you as a parent, you keep the control over it. They don't just get to say they did a task and get the coins and the reward. No, it goes back to you as a parent, and you have to sign off on it. You have to click complete it and double check it. So it's a way for you to follow up and make sure that they are doing the things they're supposed to do the way you want them done. And if they did a poor job on their task and they're supposed to earn 10 coins, but they didn't do very well, guess what? You can subtract 5 coins and be like, sorry, next time you'll get your 10 coins if you do this, this, and this different. Helps you redirect and build those healthy, good habits. And you can try the app for free. Simply go to the App Store, download the June app. It's like a little white dragon looking J thing. And then if you do love the app, I recommend it to families and for other therapists all the time. You can use my code YNGDAD to save 25% off your annual subscription rate. Yes, 25% off. That's a lot of money. June's a great partner of the podcast. I love what they do. Families that I've had go and use them, people who have reached out, said, man, I downloaded June. I started using it. I absolutely love the thing. Be part of the reason why over 1 million families and over 1,000 therapists are recommending June. And you can find all the details to June down in the description of the episode, or you can simply go to the link tree, which is also down in the description of the episode, and find all the deals, links, promos, everything that I do with the podcast, everyone I affiliate with down there in the link tree as well. So with that, Peter, your closing thoughts, and please tell the people where they can continue to follow you and keep up with you.
Well, Jay, it was great talking with you. Thank you so much for spending this morning with me. You can find me on TikTok and Instagram at np.marusca, Marusca. I have a website, Wellness with Purpose, that is currently in development, so that'll be coming out in the next couple of months, just putting on the finishing touches. And I can be reached directly through social media. I do have 3 shout outs, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
And these are resources for all your listeners. The first one is extraordinary.joy. I'll provide the links for them. They are an organization.
Will you send these links to me after we're done recording so I can add them to the description of the episode?
Yeah, so that way people can go directly to them. The first is extraordinary.joy. They are a XQ27, XQ28 deletion organization. They do a lot of research into this specific condition. They're a support group as well. So give them a look if you happen to have, if one of your children happens to have the same condition. The second is the Connected Parent site. They are a special needs page. They make great content. It's funny, it's humorous, but they also go step by step when your child starts going into education. They help with IEPs, what it means, questions to ask, how to advocate for your special needs child, because that is, there's a lot more questions than answers when that phase in life happens. And the third is Connect My Variant. They are a nonprofit health education organization based in Washington State. They are Their goal is to help families with genetic conditions have other family members tested, specifically in the realm of cancer. And so this way, you're able to detect certain genetic mutations that increase the risk of certain cancers and start preventive care earlier, which helps reduce burden, financial costs, and toxicities that can happen with a lot of cancer treatments. So I will send you over all three of those links, and I hope that brought some value to your listeners.
It absolutely did today, Peter. Thank you so much for your time, your knowledge, your experience, your stories you shared, everything that you shared with us today. I'm sure I just hope and continue to pray that this is going to reach its target audience, and I have a feeling it will, and this episode's truly going to make a